know when you're there. You're welcome. Any other questions? This camera's not positioned correctly. Okay. Any other questions on your minds? All right. Your midterm is 2 weeks from today. I've already discussed this, but by this point, you should have enough in your tool set to take a look at the midterm from last year. And what I suggest is this. Take it under time. A mistake that students often make is they look at the midterm, and by that they mean they read it over. That does absolutely nothing, right? What you want to do is take the midterm under time, and then take a look at the plus answer, and compare yourself to it. Now, you're probably not going to have everything in order, but that's going to tell you very quickly whether your outline's in the correct shape. You need to have your outline in a decent enough shape to take the midterm. Just using your class notes is not going to cut it. And by taking the old midterm, maybe this weekend or whenever, it will give you a reality check of how far off you are. And it will actually give you a reality check of how you should be structuring your outlines. I encourage you to take the midterm seriously. The reason why is because I will meet with every one of you to go over it. That's your time to improve, right? If you blow off the midterm and say, well, Josh, I'll study for the final, like, okay, that's nice, next, right? I can't help you unless you take it seriously. I find that the meetings, the midterms that are most productive are those who took it most seriously. And students who blew it off are not very productive meetings. And students say, well, you didn't give me advice. I need to work with what you give me. So take it as seriously as you can. I went over the format for the exam already. The registrar sent me instructions of how to use word count in Exemplify, so I will go over this briefly for you. As you're typing, you'll see on the left there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Those are the question numbers. Your midterm has 1 question, so duh, right? You only have question number 1. Your final will have 2 questions, so you're going to put the answer for number 1 in this box, and hit number 2, put the answer for number 2 in that box. I screwed this up when I was taking the bar. Question number 1 had 5 parts, A, B, C, D, E, and I put part A in box number 1 and part B in box number 2, and I got that number 5, I'm like, oh crap, there's only 5 boxes the entire exam. So I put the rest of the exam in the number 5 box, the entire exam. It was fine. People actually were you can't cut and paste in the bar, it doesn't exist. People were actually retyping, which was a waste of time, so I just went for it. But I'd like you to be smarter than I was and put the answer for number 1, and the answer for number 2, number 2. Now, the word count works per question, right? You'll see here features this character count. A character is a letter, or a number, or a space. If you ever use Twitter or text messages, you're limited by the number of letters you have. I don't care about the character count. Do not do the character count. A couple years ago, someone did a character count. They wrote basically 4 sentences. You have 1,000 words, right, per question. If you click this icon next to the character count, that's a little blurry, but trust me. If you click the icon next to the character count, it pulls up your word count, right? The word count for this essay, as well as for the entire exam. So for the final, you'll have to say word count for question number 1 and word count for question number 2. It's very easy, it takes you 2 seconds. Any questions there? And if this doesn't make sense, I don't have access to the software. I don't know why I don't, but I don't. Go to the registrar, they'll explain it to you. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, did you want us to write our word count on the test?
You don't have to.
Okay.
The software does it automatically. When it prints it out, it spits out the word count at the top of the page.
Okay.
That's why I don't need it. Okay. Other questions? Other questions? Anything else? All right. Let's do a question to start. Let's try this one. See how this one does. Okay. So this question, there are 2 transactions. Okay, there are 2 transactions on this question. They're numbered. Okay. Transaction number 1. Blackacre from O to A for life, then to B and his heirs. Transaction number 2. A sells Blackacre to C. Those are 2 transactions. A dies. Who owns Blackacre? Does B own Blackacre,
or does C, oh, Blackacre, those are your choices. Okay. No, 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 no. A or B.
I picked one, that's fine.
Okay, good. Well, I'll call you in a minute. All right. That's about most of you. Where did I'll call you in a minute, but where did I drop off last time? Who's next up? Okay, Brooke, you up or? Okay, Sam. Sam, what's your answer here? Is it B owns it or C owns it? Okay, you said B owns it. Okay, why did you put B? Okay.
Or I'm sorry, there's a C. And so when C dies, it would go D and C, but it may have, the C has a present interest. But C has the
I think you're almost exactly right, but let me walk through this carefully, okay? Okay, ready? So, okay. At the very beginning, right, what is O's interest at the very beginning? What does O have in Blackacre? Okay, everyone see that, right? At the very beginning, O has a fee simple. Okay? What does, Sam, O do with his fee simple?
he gives to A.
Does he give the entire interest to A?
No,
Okay, what does he do?
he gives A a left.
Okay, very good. So O had fee simple, right? And he chopped it up, right? Let me write this out for all of you so you can follow along, right? O had fee simple. O gave A life estate. Okay? But when you chop up a fee simple into a life estate, something comes after the life estate. That is when A dies. So Josh, what was the future interest given by O? Very good, right? O gave B a remainder in fee simple. And that's your future interest. All right? Nothing complicated so far, right? This is all review. Whenever you have a fee simple and it's chopped up, someone has the present interest, someone else might have the future interest. Okay? So A had a life estate, present. B had a remainder of fee simple. But then, right, Joey, we come to this, right? A sells Blackacre to C. Can this be done?
Yeah.
Can someone sell a life estate?
Yeah, you can sell a life estate, it just remains with the new owner until the death of the person who sold it.
Very good. Right? And this is a trick, right? A can sell his interest, but be careful here, right? A is only selling a life estate. That is, the interest lasts as long as whose life, Joey?
Hey,
Bingo, right? This is what's called, God, I'm going to spell it wrong. I always spell this wrong, right? A sells C a life estate pour atra V. I think I'm almost positive I spell that wrong every single time. Did I spell that right? Did I really? Oh my God, I've never spelled that word right in my all years of teaching. Okay. Atra V. Holy cow. Okay, per atra V. I've never once spelled it right in the first go. I'm very proud of myself. Okay, I've never taken French. So a life estate per atra V, right? Matt, do you remember what this is in the notes? A life estate per atra V? I'm butchering the pronunciation. Don't even. What does that mean? A life estate per atra V?
what's the life estate when there's something last for a period of time, so he maintains.
Well, okay, good. How long does a life estate last? Exactly. The life estate per atra V, right, is a life estate measured by someone else's life. C has a life estate per atra V, which is measured by whose life? A. So C holds on to Blackacre until A dies. Right? So go back to the question then. Matt, finish it up. What happens when A dies?
Whenever he dies, the property goes back.
Well, not goes back to B, it goes exactly. Once A dies, B's remainder kicks in, right? The present interest, where are my markers, right? A had a present interest life estate. B had the remainder. When A dies, the interests come together, and B now has it in fee simple. And how do we know, Jenica, that B has it in fee simple? What's the magic words there? Go back up.
The A and his heirs.
Very good, right? Not A and his heirs.
B and his heirs.
Very good, yeah. I knew what you meant, right? To B and his heirs. Very good. So now B has it in fee simple. B can sell it. B can do whatever he wants with it. No problem whatsoever. Costa, does C have anything here? Does C have anything after A dies? Zip, zero, right? C has nothing. Costa, why on earth would C take this transaction? Why would he even do this if he's going to lose in a couple of years? Why would anyone like C ever do this? Like, what motivation would you have to make this transaction? Yeah, C's here. Why would C buy a life estate? What conceivable interest could that possibly have? Anyone want to take a guess? Jillian?
What if there's a resource like oil or
Ah.
something in the subsurface that
So you dig as much as you can and get out of there. Okay, that's possible. Anyone else want to? Yeah, Mike. Why would C make this transaction?
Probably A is trying to sell at a severe discount so that he
Okay,
can get out
cheap.
of it.
Cheap. I think that's generally the answer. If you're selling a life estate, it's going to be cheap because you know you're going to lose it once this other guy dies. There was actually a fairly prominent life estate in the news in the last couple of years, which was Hugh Hefner, right, Mr. Playboy. He was getting fairly old in age and he needed money. So he wanted to sell the Playboy mansion, right, his home in California. But he didn't want to give it up. So he actually chopped up his fee simple and he gave himself a life estate for it. And he gave the remainder to this other guy, the neighbor, for like some ungodly sum of money, right? And the guy said, well, this guy is in his, 80s? He'll die soon enough. And he did die last year. So you can imagine if someone's very near death, they might sell a life estate as like saying, okay, you can keep it now, but I'll get it later. But this transaction, which I made up, C's getting bupkis. Maybe their resources, Jolene has a point, but it's not a very good long-term investment. Matt?
But, could C buy, so he could buy his,
Oh.
estate from A and then buy B's future interest?
Ah, so Matt's question is this. Could C acquire B's remainder? The answer is absolutely yes, right? In fact, if C wants to own Blackacre, he has to do both, right? If C wants to own Blackacre, he'd have to buy A's life estate and B's remainder, right? Assumpta, that's fine. Assumpta, yeah. Assumpta. If C purchased the life estate and the remainder, what would immediately happen?
You have both the present and the future.
What do we call that? Bingo. Right away. He would not have to wait for A's death. Again, watch. If C purchased the life estate and the remainder, when both are held by the same person, it's immediately a fee simple. He owns it clean. Andres.
Would C know that he's only gonna get the life estate and not the
Well, it depends how honest A is, right?
like you can like kind of screw him over.
Oh, he can. And this is how I commit fraud, right? This is how you commit fraud. This is also a perfectly valid exam question, right? We'll do this later in the semester, but if C doesn't do his homework and A misleads C about what he's actually selling, there can be a case of fraud. You purchase a life estate, that's wonderful. Once the guy dies, the remainderman shows up, and then you have luck. By the way, when I say the remainderman, right, it's a phrase used in the book. They refer to B as the remainderman. He's kind of just lurking around, waiting for A to die. He's like, hey, how you feeling, right? You got a cough? You lost some weight, right? You don't look like you're eating a lot, right? You look a little pale. B is the remainderman, just waiting around for the guy to die. It's a little bit morbid if you think about it, but that's how these cases usually shake out. All right, questions on this? Yeah, Matt, and then Costa.
Would you do so if C doesn't buy the land from B, but in a way that whenever C dies, it does revert to if he still wants the.
Oh, start over. I lost you in the middle.
So
Yeah.
like, it was split if these interests not, it wouldn't just be whole part of B's future interest, it would just be another life interest.
Don't ask me about stacking. So that was Brittany's question earlier. It gets worse when we start stacking things, right? You can have two remainder and one after the other. It gets complicated. Just keep it at one for now. Costa, I think your hand was up.
Yes, so if, so A, so A could technically just give, or O could just give A the life estate.
Right.
And then, okay, I'm just, who owns, if you hold the life estate, who's the owner?
But no, you're asking the wrong question. There's no single owner. There's an owner of the present interest and an owner of the future interest. A has the present interest life estate, and then the future interest is remainder, B and fee simple. Julian?
Okay, so the example you gave with Hugh Hefner,
Yeah.
he was selling.
Here, let me write this one out for you, right? That's basically this, right? Mansion from Hugh to Hugh for life, then to neighbor and his heirs.
Okay, but
That's a transaction. Hefner had a fee simple. He chopped it up. He gave himself the life estate, and he then transferred to his neighbor the remainder in fee simple.
But it doesn't explain what C's motivation is.
Yeah, that's why the question I posed to Joey, this doesn't make a lot of sense for C unless, you hit and run, you're there for a couple of years. Yeah. C doesn't get much out of this transaction. It's a very bad transaction, which is why the case we're studying, if you have a life estate, the bank's not going to write you a mortgage, because once you die, debt's dissolved. So having a life estate is not a good deal at all. If you love someone, you won't give them a life estate. Oh, we'll get there. Oh, he loves her so much. No, he changed it to the land. This was not a loving act. He probably didn't know. I don't think he understood, but it's not a loving act. Yes, Marcel.
C dies, does A get the life estate back, or should?
No. Okay. Let me answer Marcel's question. Right. What if C dies here, right? And A is still alive. Who gets it?
C's heirs.
C's heirs hold on to it. Basically, C's heirs hold on to it until A dies. Right? You can inherit a life estate, right? I mean, A could be a little kid and he lives 100 years, right? And as other people come and live and die. But C's heirs will get it. Yeah, Hal.
I was going to ask, with a future interest, can you break up and say, like, instead of C purchasing the life estate from A, could B's heirs sell their future estate to C in the sense that, like, B's got the life estate after A dies, right? Can he buy the future after B?
I'm sorry, I lost you in the middle. Just say it one more time.
A has the property for the life estate.
Uh-huh.
And the future interest is with B and his heirs.
Okay.
Split up that future interest, and the heirs sell their future interest.
Wait a minute. Does a living person have heirs? Oh, what a good segue to the next topic. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Sam, go ahead. Yeah.
So if C dies and it goes to their heirs, then would it be wrong to say that C has a present interest at that time? Because you said A has a present interest.
A has a present interest life estate, right? B's interest is called future. This is why the terminology stuff. Even though it's called a future interest, you have it now. You have an interest now for the future. Let me say it again. I have a remainder today, right? That remainder is called a future interest. I have it today. So even though it's called a future interest, you possess it today. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
It doesn't, but it's okay. It's a confusing terminology. You call it a future interest, but you have it today. Right? You have this remainder today, which you can sell, do whatever you want to it. But it doesn't come into action until the guy dies. Julian?
Okay, I'm stuck on what's C's motivation. Why
None.
does C-
None. I made this a terrible example to teach a point, but C has no motivation here.
Okay.
None. It's a bad deal. That's my hands. Dylan, was that your hand?
Yeah, I have to make sure. So remainder and fee simple is completely different than just plain fee simple.
Oh yeah, the remainder in fee simples means you have a future interest. It doesn't happen until A dies. See again, any questions on this one? Let's see how you guys did. So again, the answer is that B owns it. Let's see how you guys did. Well, it's choice A, which I don't like. Okay, good. Almost all of you got this one. 82%. Very good. So the answer is that B owns Blackacre, even though C gets nothing. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the book. It's page, was it 260? There's some questions there I'll go over. So the book walks through different types of inheritances. And the first one, I think this answers the question I asked a minute ago about heirs. No one is the heir of a living person. It's very common, Paris Hilton is heiress of this fortune, right? You're not an heir until the other person dies. So it's something of a misnomer, right? Heirs don't exist till after death. Okay? There's another phrase beyond heir, which is kin. A kin is a person who succeeds to personal property. Generally, heir and kin are interchangeable, right? They're basically the same thing. They don't really make a difference. The other phrase is issue, right? ISSUE. An issue refers to descendants, generally children, right? But it refers to like a bloodline going down. So a grandfather, the son, and the grandson, right? That's issue, going straight down the bloodline. Brothers and sisters, going horizontal, are not issue. Then you have ancestors, which means going up. So your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, those are ancestors. Occasionally, if a person dies with no issue, their ancestors take property. And then you have what are called collaterals. This is what we call horizontal family, right? If you ever look at a family tree, you go up, you go down, you go left to right. Collaterals are related by blood, but they're not descendants, right? These are brothers, sisters, nephews, aunts, uncles, cousins. Okay? People who are related by blood, but not, up or down, it's left to right. Don't get too bogged down in this. If you take wills and trusts, you'll go into it. But it gets very messy when someone dies without a will, and they try and track down who the various family members are and what monies are owed. It gets really tricky. For most people, they don't die with a lot of money. It's rare that a person dies without a will with money. Usually people have money, dispose of it well. But occasionally a person dies with money who doesn't dispose of it well, and it's up to the probate court to figure out who gets what, and it's often very messy. All these family members come out of the woodworks. In fact, they have these, I don't know what you call them, basically private investigators who go around to probate courts. They find that some money is being held over without a will, and they will dig and find family members in charge of finders. She's saying, aha, I found your great Uncle Sam, right? And you're entitled to this money, give me 10%. So it's like an entire line of work of people who seek out relatives to try and get a finder's fee. It's somewhat unseemly, but it happens. All right, questions on that background? Okay. All right, so let's do this first question. It's a little tricky, but we'll do it here. Who am I up to? Hey, Caitlin, you want to read question number 1 for me, please?
O, owner Blackacre, has 2 children, A, daughter, and B, son. Subsequently, B dies testate, and devising all of his property to W, his wife. B is survived by 3 children, B1, daughter, B2, son, and B3, daughter. A1, son, is born to A. O then dies in this way. Who owns Blackacre in England in 1800?
Okay. So the good news and the bad news, right? The good news is the first part, England 1800 is very easy, right? But the second part is you don't live in England 1800. So we'll do both of them. So the facts here: you have O owns Blackacre. He has 2 children, A and B, a daughter and a son. The son dies intestate. That means, the son dies testate, which means he has a will. Okay. He leaves all of his property to his wife W. And B has 3 children. B1, daughter, B2, a son, and B3, a daughter. Okay? A has a son, A1. O dies intestate. Okay. The first part of who owns in England in 1800 is actually a little bit easier. You can cheat. This was a doctrine of primogeniture. Let me write a few. Right? It's a doctrine known as primogeniture, which basically means the oldest son inherits. Right? Primogeniture. Primo, first, generation, right? The doctrine of primogeniture means the oldest son inherits. So let's go back to our fact pattern, right? Caitlin, who is the oldest living son in this fact pattern? Exactly right. So under the rule in 1800 in England, B2 takes the property. Okay? That's easy. Well, I mean, it's very unfair, but at least it's easy to administer. Now you know what the reasons why primogeniture existed. Yes, it was sexist, men got everything, but it was easy. And we've discussed before, courts like easy rules to apply. And it's fairly easy to figure out who the oldest son is. You just check the birth dates. Okay? The modern rule, the abolition of primogeniture, is a lot more fair, and that's not so slanted for the oldest born male, but it's a pain in the neck to apply. So Nikisha, let's walk through this, right? So who do we have? Right? Who do we have? We have A is the daughter. The son B died. So we have A, B1, B2, B3, A1, and the wife. Okay? We have a lot of people floating around here. All right? So let's start the easy one, Nikisha. Does the wife get anything? What do you think? Okay, that's right. Why does the wife get nothing? Well, in general, does the wife ever why would the wife inherit property from O? Is the wife related to O in any way? Exactly right. The wife gets 0. That's easy one, right? She's not related to O. Okay? It doesn't matter if you're related through marriage. It's about blood. The wife takes nothing here. Yeah. No, modern. Yeah. The wife gets nothing. She's not related. Right? What's the wife's connection? She married B. Right? But the property goes down. Follow me here. Ready? Who in the marriage of the W and B would get? Right? Who am I? Read. So between, let's say B had never died, right? And B was still alive. Would the wife have any claim to the property? Right. B would have the claim. But because B died, what happens now? Okay, and that's the rub. The wife gets nothing, but her kids take a share. Right? I'll do the math in a minute. But the wife takes nothing. She's not related. B1, B2, and B3 take the share their father would have gotten. Had B still been alive, B would have gotten his share. But instead, B splits his share. I'm sorry, B's share is split among the 3 children. Okay? Everyone get that?
Would it be split with the grandson too?
I'm not getting there yet, right? I'm getting there in a minute, right? I'm not there. Okay? Whatever share was supposed to go to B goes to B's descendants. Right? We have B1, B2, and B3. Okay? Again, I'll get to the math, but whatever share B was to get goes to B1, B2, B3. Right? Because B's dead. Now, Ryan. Sorry, you pointing?
Sorry, I have a question. So O's intestate will override B's testate?
When B died, he didn't have Blackacre yet. Right? Who died first? B died first, and then O died. Right? B died testate. He gave all the property at that time to the wife. Did he have Blackacre yet?
No, because O hadn't died yet.
Right. Then O dies later.
And so it will
No, there's nothing overriding. I see your question, right? Everyone has Brittany's question. When B died with a will, he didn't have Blackacre yet. He didn't have anything. So he couldn't give it to his wife. Blackacre didn't come down the family line until after B died. So the fact that B died with a will is irrelevant. Even though he's designated his wife as his heir for the will, he could only leave her the property he had at the time of his death. He didn't give her the father's property. Right? Now I think what someone else is going to ask is,
Thank you.
yeah, no, thank you. But I think someone else might ask is this, wasn't B a remainderman, right? Didn't he have a future interest? Doesn't say in the facts. The father could have had in fee simple, didn't have to leave it to the son. So at the time that B died, he had no interest in Blackacre. There was nothing for him to give the wife in the first place. I think that's your question, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kendra.
Well, what about A, the daughter? Does she?
I'm getting there. I didn't do A yet. I did the B line. I promise I'll get there. But everyone get B, right? When B died, he had no interest in Blackacre. But B's children were still in existence, right? They existed. When O died, Grandpa, right? When O died, he couldn't give it to B, so B's share split 3 ways with the grandkids, B1, B2, B3. All right? Megan?
Do we just assume that O gives future interest to the son and daughter?
You don't assume that. That was Megan's question. I'm sorry, Brittany's question. You don't assume that. There's nothing here saying that O gave a future interest to his kids. It doesn't say it, so you can't assume it. Matt?
If he would have died intestate, it would be equal shares to his son and daughter, the whole property to his son, then he would have to be. That's the.
Well, but again, a will is not a gift inter vivos, it's testamentary. You don't know what's in will till the person dies. In this case, B died first, so it didn't matter. But let's go on. Ryan. O had a daughter, A. Right? Does A1, the son born to A, take anything? Why not? Okay, and that's the key difference. A is still alive, so A1 gets 0. B is dead. Therefore, his share split between his 3 kids. Everyone with me so far, right? Kendra?
So it's split evenly.
I didn't give numbers yet. I'm going to do that next. I promise. I got to do this in layers. If I give it all at once, it won't make sense. But everyone see, A gets a share, A1 gets nothing. B is dead, so B's share goes to B1, B2, B3. I'll do the numbers in a minute, I promise. Everyone with me so far? I know this is tricky. Yeah, Melissa. Had A already been dead, then A's share would have gone to A1. That's right. Okay, so now let's do the numbers, which make people unhappy, right? Marcos, you asked about the math, right? There's some math in this class. So you had O, and you had A and B, right? Let's say A and B were still alive, right? How would they split it, Jake, if A and B were still alive? If A and B were still alive, how would they split Blackacre? What proportion? Thank you, yeah. Yeah. Right? A would have 1/2, and B would have 1/2. Wouldn't that be very easy, right? That'd be easy for you. But instead we have A and B1, B2, and B3. Right? So Jake, in this question, does A's share get reduced at all? Okay. Right? And altogether, B1, B2, and B3, they have 1/2. Now comes the math question. What does B1, B2, and B3 each individually have? Which is, say it, Jake? Very good. Thank you for saving us from the shame. So B1 has 1/6, right? B2 has 1/6, and B3 has 1/6 of Blackacre. So A gets a half, and each of the 3 kids split the father's half. Again, the father had half, he's dead, so the 3 kids split the father's half, which is 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. If you add up, trust me on this, it works. 1/2 plus a 6, a 6, a 6, a 6, you get to 100%. And that's how Blackacre is divided. This is what wills and trusts will be like. This is just a preview. There's math in the exam, right? The trick to this question, right, what makes it so complicated, is you have to remember if a father dies, it passes on to his children and it's sliced up. And you have to keep the share straight. Again, this is why primogeniture was actually somewhat appealing, because it made it a lot easier. You give everything to B2, piece of cake, right? Well, this one, you have to do all this weird math. But this has been the rule in the United States for 200 some odd years, and this is what you have to do. This is why if you draft a will, you have to do this stuff. But this is what happens when you have no will. And this is easy. There's only, here what? 1 daughter and 3 grandkids. Imagine if there's like 20 grandkids floating around. It gets really tough. Yeah, Shinoda.
What if in like the second thing, B3 is non-existent essentially? So that,
What do you mean B3 is non-existent?
like, they can't find their whereabouts, they don't know if they're even alive then.
Right. So this actually came up in one of the cases today where they couldn't find one of the grandkids. They said they basically presume the person's dead, right? If a person hasn't been found for some time, you presume they're dead. That doesn't end the issue because that person can have kids and trace in that person's heirs. So there's no end to this, right? I think the court, the one in was it Tennessee or Mississippi, they basically did a shortcut. They said, well, we'll presume this person's dead, but that's a little bit of a shortcut. You can't do that so easily. Yeah, Casa.
So here, like A would have their half would be considered
Oh, so this gets what's called co-ownership, which you do in property too. I don't want to answer that question, but they have a half interest in the property. It gets very complicated when you share a fee simple. Just think about it for a minute, right? If you have fee simple, that means you have the full bundle of 6, but you're sharing it. It gets really tricky. So I'm not going to answer your question yet, but she has a half interest. Just leave it at that. Questions? People, you guys get this? I know it's hard. I know. This is tricky. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I signed this up in the fee table just for you guys to skim. Just look it over in your notes. This was a way of keeping property within the family line. It was also designed to avoid these sorts of complicated issues because it was always the oldest born male. You knew who the heir was, or at least you're supposed to. It's been abolished for a long time. It really never existed in the United States, so I don't expect you to know it. I think a couple states have it in some limited form, but it doesn't really have any weight, so I don't spend much time on it. Any questions in the fee tail? Yes, Kendra?
Just clarifying, so that you wouldn't do if they don't have a will?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. All right, so let's move on to the first case, White against Brown. Okay. Okay, so far we've done questions like this, okay? From O to A for life. Then to B and its heirs. And we've done this before, right? So just Ashton, so listen to me, what's the present interest and the future interest here? Yeah, this question I just wrote there. What's the present interest?
Present interest resides with A.
What do we call it? What's A's interest? Don't help her out. I saw that. I saw that. Okay, don't tell this one. Next one, okay? What's the future interest, Ashton? Come on. Same as the question we began class today. Same.
The remainder.
Who has it?
B does. Oh, no, B and heirs.
Which one is it? What does and his heirs mean? Does it matter who his heirs are? Does this person even have heirs who's living? Does a living person have heirs? Okay, so who has the remainder? Who has the future interest? Very good. Stop there. Right. It's a remainder in fee simple for B. Right. So to be precise, B has a remainder in fee simple. Okay. Piece of cake. Right. We've done this 100 times. All right, Esther. I'm going to change this a little bit. Okay. From O to A for life. Period. Ends there. That's it. That's all it is. So who has a present interest, Esther? Very good. The present interest is life estate. Okay, now here comes the hard part, Esther. Who has a future interest here? What happens after A dies? Okay, goes back to, what do you call that? Louder? Very good, right? So we say that O has reversion. Okay? And specifically, what kind of reversion is it, Esther? Finish it up. Very good. O is reversion if he's simple. Now this is where the class is going off the rails, right? Remainder, reversion. Remainder, reversion. I promise you at least half of you will confuse in the midterm, at least half of you, okay? You need to memorize this. There's no other way to do this. Josh, what is the difference between a remainder and a reversion, right? You're asking, my God, would they look the same? Here's the difference, okay? Follow me very carefully here. A remainder, right, belongs to a third party. Okay? A remainder belongs to a third party. In this case, B. The initial transactions from O to A for life. B is some third party, literally a third party. That's remainder. The reversion is in the grantor, right? Remember I said the grantor is one who gives, right? When the word ends in OR, it's the giver. O, the grantor, has reversion, right? When you have a future interest after a life estate in a third party, it's remainder. When you have a future interest after a life estate to the grantor, it's reversion. Notice I'm stressing this is after a life estate. This only works after a life estate. It's different rules for other kinds of estates. You haven't done this yet. But when you see, right, a life estate plus a future interest in third party, it's called remainder. When you have a life estate plus a future interest in the grantor, it's called reversion. Okay? You need to memorize this. I have no way of helping you with this. In fact, if you notice the footnote in the book, the court actually confused the two, right? The court actually confused remainder and reversion. They're very easy to confuse. RE, right? REV, REM. Very similar, again. So when you see a life estate, and then you see a future interest in some third party, you know it's remainder. And the future interest after life estate in the grantor is reversion. You have to pay attention to the commas, right? In this first example, from O to A for life, comma. Stop there, life estate. What comes next? B as a future interest, it's got to be a remainder. Here, there's no comma. It ends right there, it's a period. You know there's no third party here. It's got to go back to the grantor. Therefore, it's reversion. I told you you're not going to like it. You need to distinguish between reversions and remainders. And I'm warning you, a lot of these are similar. Just to scare you now. There's a possibility of reverter and reversion. Okay? Possibility, here, I'll show you the other one, just so you don't confuse your notes. There's something we'll do later called the possibility of reverter. A possibility reverter. I can't tell you how many students write on their exams. Possibility of reversion. Don't do that. Right? Don't do that. I'm not forgiving on that one. Right? You have to be precise with your terms here. So you get remainder, you get reversion. Not a reverter. Because what you're going to say is, oh, it's a reverter. No. Reversion. And don't say it reverts. Don't say reverts. It's reversion. It's a noun, not a verb. Trust me, if you use a verb, it reverts, you'll confuse yourselves. Reversion, noun. Understood? I think making your hand up and then Bartul?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing it myself, but if O died after the reversion, does it just go to like his?
O's heirs.
Okay.
Yeah, O's heirs. Take it. Bartul? When A is alive, it's called reversion. What happens when A dies? What does O have then? Sorry? Yeah, once A dies, O has a fee simple. But the the future interest is called the reversion. I told you. Gets worse. But make sure you, at least for today, understand the difference between remainder and reversion. If the future interest goes to a third party, you got yourself a remainder there. If the future interest goes back to the grantor, you get reversion. Again, the court itself, this court in Tennessee confuses you. There's a little footnote about it, right? They screwed it up. They said, oh, reversion. No, it's remainder. But you have to get them straight. Questions on this? All right, let's move on. All right, Rob, let's do the a white versus brown case, please. Want to give me the facts?
Actually, like, so we're going to stop it.
Yeah, that was like 4 pages. Bartul, what were the facts in white? What's her name, the person who dies? Yeah, Jesse lied. I don't know if it's lied or lead. I don't know. Yeah, Jesse Lead died, right? Okay, then what happened? Okay. Well, okay, I have it up here. By the way, it's called a holographic will. That sounds like so cool, like a hologram, right? But it just means handwritten, right? I was so excited. Like, yeah, it's, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ron Hope, right? It's a handwritten will. That's all it means. Okay, so yeah, Bartul, you want to read for us the will, please? How is it pronounced? Oh, there's no R there?
No.
Oh, I can't read. It's too small. Just can you write a little bit bigger, please? I'm sorry. Oh, that's much better. Batul. Oh, I thought there was an R. I couldn't read it. It was too small. Batul, thank you. I'm sorry. Good. Okay, very good. So here we have a case, right? Jesse Lead, am I pronouncing her name correctly? I don't know. I hope. Jesse Lead was a widower. She had no children, and she had 2 sisters. Evelyn White, who's listed here, lived with Lead for almost 25 years. This was a fairly small house. It was 4 rooms. I always laugh when I read this, that they had only 4 rooms, but the living room, no one ever went inside. They never went inside the living room. She cleaned it every day, and they only opened it for deaths. Okay, that was their tradition. She rented the house for $3 a week for 38 years. She never purchased it. Okay. There was no electricity originally, but eventually they were able to add it. Okay. Eventually, Evelyn kept living in the house until Lead died at the age of 88. And then they leave this will, right? So there are 2 pieces. There are 2 people involved. There's Sandra and there's Evelyn. Okay? Sandra is appointed the executrix. That's like executor, it's the female version. You know, dominatrix, probably the version you know. The IX is a feminine suffix, okay? You sometimes see the phrase litigate-trix, although it's, maybe we shouldn't use it. But the IX suffix is female. It's a portmanteau of litigator and dominatrix, but anyway, it's a suffix. It says, I appoint Sandra to be my executor, and in the next paragraph she says, I leave my personal property to Sandra White Perry. Okay. So, Melissa, just focusing on Sandra for a minute, right? We'll get to Evelyn in a bit. But let's focus on Sandra for now. What do we know from Jesse's will, but how she treated Sandra? What's going on with Sandra for a minute? No, Sandra, not an Evelyn yet, Sandra. What do we know that Jesse is aware of, that she knows how to do? Like, what does the stuff to Sandra tell us that she knows what to do? Okay, did you put any conditions on the personal property? No. Stay with Sandra. Keep jumping. Did you put any conditions on the gift of the personal property to Sandra? Okay, she didn't. Did you say you can have this personal property for the rest of your life? To Sandra? No. Did she give the property to Sandra only for her life? How would you describe the gift of the personal property? What kind of estate was it? Very good. Be simple. That's right. Jesse gave the personal property. By personal property, I mean furniture, right? Stuff like that. Jewelry, whatever it happens to be in the house. Jesse gave the personal property to Sandra in fee simple. Right? As a consequence, Jesse could have sold it, devised it, did whatever she wanted with it. Okay? So we know at a minimum that Jesse understood the concept of giving property without conditions, right? Fee simple. She didn't know the phrase, right? She didn't know what fee simple is. You probably know what fee simple is 2 weeks ago. But she didn't know the phrase, but she understood the concept to give Sandra this property to do whatever she wanted with, right? All right, Roxy. So then we get to Miss Evelyn White. So she says, I wish Evelyn White to have my home to live in and not to be sold. And she underlined, not and sold. And then she repeats it again in the next paragraph. My house is not to be sold. So, you know, Roxy, you're a first-year law student, right? You're reading this, right? Forget the court for a minute. We'll get to the court. How would you, as a reasonable person reading this will, understand what Jesse's intent was, right? Forget the court. Just how would you read this? What's her intent? What's she trying to do here? Oh yeah, that's a little bit weird, right? Does that remind you of something we've done this year? Yeah, what? Oh, you helped her out. Yeah, that's right. Very good. She was going to get it. I thought she was on the right track. Yeah. This is almost like the Native Americans, right? They can live on the soil, but they can't sell it, which is a bizarre thing. We were always like, how would anyone do that? Well, I mean, I think Roxy's right. I read the same way. Maybe someone disagrees, but this is saying she can live on the house, but you can't sell it. Natalia, is that how you read it? Ah, okay. So you say this means that Jesse was giving her a life estate. But wait a minute, Natalia. Didn't we do this question at the very beginning? Right? This was Jolene's question she was jumping on me about, right? Can you sell a life estate? Can you sell a life estate? Why would anyone buy from a life estate owner? But isn't the point of a life estate is that you can sell it? You give this life estate per atra v, trying to spell correctly, right? Why couldn't the life estate person, Sandra, sell her life estate to someone else? Well, no. Here in this case, A had a life estate, and we said A can sell his interest. Why can't Miss Sandra sell her interest? Okay, so this is why we start getting some problems with this will, right? Again, Miss Jessie wasn't a lawyer. She didn't have the sophistication that you all have now, right? She put two different concepts together, which give the court a lot of difficulty. They first said, I wish Miss Evelyn White to have my home to live in, right? What if they just stopped there and said, I wish Evelyn to have my home to live in, period. Life estate, right? No problem. Her to live in, piece of cake, life estate. Easy. But then the next sentence it says, and not to be sold. So she's combining two different concepts. She's combining the idea of a life estate with what's called a restraint on alienation. Let me write that for you. It's a big word, right? A restraint on alienation. What does that mean? A restriction on the ability to sell, right? It's saying you can live here like the Native Americans, but you guys can't sell it, right? So I think the most logical way of reading this is she gave her a life estate combined with a restraint on alienation, saying you can live here for life, but you can't give someone else a life estate per atrophy, right? You can't sell off your life estate. Everyone with me? Edwin, can a testatrix, right? Can Ms. Lee do that in a will? Give someone a life estate, but say you can't sell it? Is there anything prohibiting that? Why can't the court simply honor her intent and say, okay, we're giving a life estate that can't be sold? Why can't that be done? No, don't say fee tail. No, it's not a fee tail. Not a fee tail. Fee tail was abolished hundreds of years ago. Why can't, Edwin, it's on your book, why can't Ms. Lead give a life estate with restraints on the alienation? Why can't that be done? Is there any reason why not? Why can't they? Why can't you put restraints on a life estate? What's wrong? I mean, I haven't taught you that much, but I don't. But it is a life estate. They can live on for life.
All property has to have an owner?
Sure, as an owner, right? And then during the person's life, it can't be sold.
But who's the owner at the time?
No, there's not one owner, my friend. There are different bundles in the sticks. And the selling stick was never transmitted. Okay, so why can't this be sold? Why can't Ms. Lee do this?
Is it because the person who died, who would enforce it if he sold it?
Oh, so let's try this, right? Why is this in court, Andres? Why is this case in court?
Well, basically, they couldn't see what her intent was to use the property.
Who sued whom here? Who sued whom?
It feels like the nieces and nephews.
The worthless heirs, right? The worthless heirs who never once visited grandma in her house, right? Poor Miss Sandra lived with her for 25 years, and then Sandra died. Right? So the remaindermen, right? Who gets it after the life estate? The remainder, the kiddies, the nephews, nieces, right? They're fighting with her. Okay? If Sandra White only had a life estate, after the life estate it goes to the kids, remainder. But if Sandra had a fee simple, it's hers, and Sandra's heirs then get it. That's the key. Let me say that one more time. If Sandra died, right? If Sandra had a fee simple, her heirs get it. If Sandra had only a life estate, the heirs of Miss Jessie Lead get it. Everyone see this? And let me be very precise here. It's actually reversion. I made the court's mistake, right? So let's write like this, right? So lead, from lead to Sandra for life. Okay? Or from lead to Sandra and her heirs. These are the two possible readings of the will. From lead to Sandra for life, and from lead to Sandra and her heirs. Those are the two possible readings. Under the first one, Sandra has only a life estate. Okay, only a life estate. Demetrius, in this question, in the first one, who has a future interest? This is hard right now. Who has a future interest in the first one?
I don't think we really established.
Oh, it does. We did it a few minutes ago. Check your notes. When you have a life estate that ends in a period, nothing comes after it, who has the future interest? Good. Right. So the future interest is reversion, right? Who has it? But Lee's dead. She's dead. So come on, Demetrius, finish it up. Who gets it? I'm sorry? No. That's wrong. That's wrong. Khadijah, who has the reversion? Yes. Exactly right. The reversion is in Lee's heirs. Everyone see that? When you have a life estate, the future interest goes back to the grantor. It's called reversion. But Jesse's dead. Lee's dead. So you calculate who Lee's heirs are. These are the worthless nieces and nephews, right, in this case. I call them worthless. They're the lovely people, but they never care a damn about her when she's alive, only when Christ wants to buy the property, right? It's true. So the reversion is in Lee's heirs. Khadijah is exactly right on that. Everyone see that? This is why the case is being litigated, because Lee's heirs popped up out of nowhere. It's like, hey, we want the property sold to Chrysler, right? They popped up out of nowhere. So if Miss Jessie Lead only gave a life estate to Sandra, that's the correct construction. The alternative, though, right? From life, I'm sorry, I said life. From Lead to Sandra and her heirs. Okay, Kendall. If this is a construction, who has the future interest here? Well, Sandra's dead. Very good, right? So we start off by saying that Sandra had the present and future interest, because she had a fee simple. And then when Sandra dies, who gets it, Kendall? Exactly. When Sandra dies, Sandra's heirs get it. And she can have a will. Doesn't have to be her blood relatives. Or she dies intestate, it's her heirs by blood. But the key point is it a life estate or is it a fee simple? If it's a life estate, then Jesse's heirs get it. If it's a fee simple, then Sandra's heirs get it, right? Everyone's dead. Sandra's dead, Evelyn's dead. They're all dead, right? But the question is, who gets it now? Jillian, you're laughing. I'm glad I made you laugh.
No, I have a question about fee simple. So it is remains fee simple whether you have the right to sell it or not.
Well, by definition, if you have fee simple, you can sell it.
Right, but she doesn't have that, so it was still.
Okay, so this is what gives, now it actually moves to the court's opinion. The court has trouble with this one, right? Because if you have a fee simple, you have the full bundle of sticks, meaning you can sell it. She can't sell it, right? Go back to the construction of the will. It says the house cannot be sold. So then, Zach, how does the court hold that Sandra has a fee simple if she can't sell it, right? How does she have a fee simple? How has the court even reached that ruling? Is this insane? I mean, how does the court reach this ruling, given this will? Right, I'm asking, but how can you reach that, given that it says it can't be sold? It says it right there in big letters. She underlined it, not be sold. How does the court hold that she has fee simple, it can be sold? What does the court do here?
So they say that she was like, I guess, kind of almost kind of abusive kind of their reasoning.
Yeah, right. This
Like,
dottery old lady know what she was doing, right?
Couldn't do that.
So instead, how did the court read the will? What did the court actually do here?
They say that Evelyn has fee simple.
That's right. That's the answer, bottom line. But how does the court get there? That's what I'm asking you. How does the court get there?
Well, they go into like some of the, like this public act.
Okay, tell me about that.
Says that, which reversed the common law presumption that if a life estate was intended unless said otherwise. And so now a fee simple is intended unless said otherwise.
Okay, very good. So what the court basically says is this. I'm going to summarize it grossly. The law doesn't like chopping up estates because it's complicated. The law doesn't like giving this person a life estate and giving some distant relative a remainder, reversion. It's very complicated. They say if a will can be read to convey a fee simple, that is, if you can read a will to convey the entire estate, you should read it that way. As a result, they say we can read this will to give a fee simple to Evelyn White. We will so read it. Whoa, that was close. That's really close. That's the question, right? If the will can be so read, it should be so read. Now, Lucas, here. Glad your laptop's safe. So the question is this, right? How do they read this will to say it's a fee simple? Again, I think Jolene said this a minute ago. It can't be sold. And the essence of a fee simple is you have the right to dispose of it. How do they treat this language and underline shall not be sold? What do they do there?
It's all about her intent.
Do they ignore the language?
Not really.
Marcella? You say your head nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, they strike it out, right? It's basically they took a red pen and they crossed it out. I mean, it's a striking, no pun intended, but it's a striking image of the court saying, well, we know what was in her mind, so we're going to ignore her words. This is the point of the dissent, right? They say, we know what she really meant. She didn't write what she meant. She's not sophisticated. She's an old dottery lady. So we're just going to strike out these words shall not be sold. And striking these words home to live in. They basically ignore the entire second paragraph of the damn will. Right? Marcelo, you're chuckling. Why are you laughing? You're laughing. Why are you laughing? Is this a funny case?
I guess like what you just said, they just ignored it completely, and the dissent says specifically said and like underlined not to be sold.
Twice, yeah. She said it twice.
So, like
Yeah.
the dissent.
You like the dissent better?
Yeah.
Okay. And Justin, I mentioned this point before, though, but does Miss Jessie Lead know how to give property in fee simple? Does she know how to do that?
Probably not.
Well, I disagree. There's evidence here. There's some evidence that she knows how to give a gift in fee simple. What's that evidence? It's only 3 paragraphs. No. What's the evidence? What's the evidence that she knows how to give a gift in fee simple?
Personal property.
Bingo. She gave the personal property in fee simple, 100%. No condition. She's like, you can have my property for your life, but you can't sell it, right? She could have said that, but she didn't. So I like the dissent, Justice Harbison, who says, this is very easy, right? It's a very easy case. You want to give a life estate with a restraint on the alienation. What the majority does is they rewrite the will and say, well, we don't like restraints on alienation. They're bad. We're going to strike that out and give her fee simple. Whoa, right? This was the exact opposite of what Miss Lead wanted, right? Or was it? We don't actually know, right? We don't know. That's the point of a will. The person's dead. They're dead. You can't hold a seance and ask them what they think, right? It doesn't work like that. So the courts try their best, and I think here the dissent makes the better argument. I usually like the dissent here, but maybe I could persuade otherwise. Okay? All right. So the bottom line, they say we should construe this as a fee simple. That way it conveys the entire estate and doesn't have a nasty restraint and alienation. Fee simple, therefore it goes to the heirs of Jessie Lead under the reversion principle. Done. Easy. Questions on Brown v. White or White v. Brown? Questions? No? All right. The aftermath of this case I always find funny, not funny, but sad kind of. Like, there were all these offers to sell the property to Chrysler, and she said, no, not going to sell it, not going to sell it. And then finally they gave it off, and they rented it out, and White died, and Sylvia was desperate and put up for sale for like basically pennies, and they'll sell it to Chrysler later for more money. So these stories never actually end very well. They never do. I think I have a picture here of the house, and Jesse Leeds on the right, and Sandra White's in the middle. See the little girl there. Okay. Questions on the first case? All right, Samantha, you want to give me the facts on number 2, please?
So, a lot going on in this case.
There's a lot going on. Very, very good start. Yeah.
Marriages that the owner of this land then dies. Basically, the dispute is over land, the life estate, future interest, the provision for the investment of the proceeds.
Well, let's just keep this simple, right? So I'm gonna walk you through this. So Samantha, we have John Whedon, right? He's the patriarch of the family.
Right.
He had several wives. Okay, so his first marriage.
Since it resulted in 2 siblings, does that just mean
Kids.
Okay, yeah. I just
Okay.
That word is, but so they had 2 kids, and then
Florence Weedon Baker
and
and Delete Weedon Baker. Okay.
and then Mrs. Baker was the mother of 3 children.
Okay.
Anna Baker, Sarah Baker, Lyndon, Weedon,
Okay.
and Louise Virginia Baker Peck,
Okay.
and they're the appellants in this case apparently.
Very good.
And then Stilette Weedon adopted a daughter.
And
that's
she's
presumed to be
parts unknown, right? She's off the grid. Very good. Okay. First marriage ended. Second marriage.
Second marriage, well, they both are now dead.
Everyone's dead. So, everyone always dies.
But then he gets married again to a 17-year-old.
He did. How old was he at the time?
He was 55.
Okay.
And that resulted in no children, but
No children.
they do say that she had a lot to do with like the investment and like in the property that is in question.
Yeah, they had a quote compatible relationship,
Right.
as they say. So again, he was 55. He married a 17-year-old.
Right.
She worked the field. She plowed the farm. She milked cows. She seems like she was a wonderful spouse and a wonderful farmhand. Okay. Now, the father, John's relationship with his daughters from the first marriage was very strained. He had no contact with Florence, and Delette was apparently nomadic and only showed up to ask for money. Okay, it happens. The husband wrote a will. I put it up here. Okay. And it says, I'll read it. Actually, Dylan, you want to read it for us? The will?
Sure. I give and bequeath to my beloved wife, Anna Plaxico Whedon, all of my property, both real, personal, and mixed during her natural life, and upon her death to her children, if she has any. And in the event she dies without issue, then at the death of my wife, Anna Plaxico Whedon, I give, bequeath, and devise all of my property to my grandchildren, each grandchild sharing equally with the other.
Okay, keep going.
In this will, I have not provided for my daughters, Miss
Nope.
Florence Baker and Miss Gillette Weedon Jones. The reason is I've given them their share of my property, and they have not looked after and cared for me in the latter part.
Okay, very good, very good. So, unlike Miss Jessie Lead, he was very clear what he wanted, right? There's no doubt whatsoever what his intent is. This is actually a fairly easy will to interpret. Okay? So first he says, Dylan, to my beloved wife, Anna, I love you so much, sweetie. Did he really love her? I don't think so either. Why do you think this was not such a loving gift? Wasn't that sweet? What did he not give her that was really important? What would have really said, I love you, sweetie?
All the land.
How could he have given it to her saying, I really love you?
Married her.
No, he married her. They were married. That's fine. But how could he have drafted this will to really give her the gift of love? What would he have had to write for that? He said for your natural life. Well, what do you have to write?
Oh, enslaved.
What's the biggest gift of property you can give someone? The best.
Money.
No. Oh, hey. I can't. Is that Katie? Fee simple. Yeah. If he really loved her, he would have given her a fee simple. But instead, Katie, what did he do? He gave her a life estate. And it wasn't just a life estate. It's a life estate. And if you go and get married to someone else, your kids get a fee simple. Right? But if she dies of issue, without children, then it goes to the grandchildren. In other words, he viewed her as a vessel. It's a very strange will, right? She would only benefit in the event she had kids. This might have been a source of bitterness between the two of them. I don't know. But unless she had kids, she was stuck with a life estate, right? Unless she had kids, she's stuck with a life estate, right? If she had kids, and her kids will at least have something, maybe take care of grandma for her, right? But she only had a life estate. Now, Alec, we move on. It says, so if she has no kids, dies of that issue, then at my wife's death, I give all my property to my grandchildren, sharing equally. What does that mean?
They all get the interest that will be given to Anna.
Very good. This is the example we did at the beginning of class. With the 3 grandchildren, they take it in thirds, right? Or 6, or what happens to be, right? The next paragraph says, I am not giving anything at all for my daughters, Florence, Baker, and delete Weedon Jones, right? They are ingrates. Let him rot. He made his point very clear. And imagine, we're still reading this case, 100 years later, right? These people are probably long since gone. Okay. Probably, I don't know. Maybe. Well, we know Miss Anna will live forever. She outlived almost all of them, which is fantastic. Who, I can't see anything today. Stephanie. All right, so walk me through the facts, right? Why is this problematic? Anna, life estate. What's the big deal? Why can't you just live her life estate, die, and let the kids come along? Why did this case come about? Why did she want to sell it? Yeah, why wasn't she making enough income? What happened over the decades? I'm sorry? She was getting old, right? And she couldn't farm the land the same way she perhaps used to. She wanted to sell the land as a means to get some money to live, right? Again, a bank won't give a loan for credit on a life estate. She couldn't sell the property. In fact, the land was much better used for non-agricultural than agricultural. But who on earth would buy a life estate? This is like our question with Jolene, right? Why would anyone buy a life estate from Mrs. Whedon, right? Miss Anna Plexico Whedon. No one would buy it. So she went to the court. What's called the Court of Chancery, right? It's basically a court of equity, and said, I want out, right? Let me sell this damn thing. Now, Harrison, why couldn't she sell it? Who is stopping her, right? Who's here suing her to say you can't sell this? The grandchildren, the ingrate grandchildren, right? They never knew her. They're not related to her. It's like, well, this is very nice that you married my father. That's nice. I'm waiting for you to die. That's basically it. If you die, we get all this money, right? We get this land we can sell. And we don't want you selling this plot, because if you sell it, it won't be worth as much. We'll just let it sit and mature, and once you die, we'll sell it. That's, Harrison, am I being fair? No, fine. The grandkids were apparently nice enough, but they weren't interested in selling the property. They were good grandkids, so you know what, we'll just sell it now and we'll give you some money. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to wait for it to mature. So the Chancery Court actually ordered a sale. Rachel, what did the Supreme Court of the state do on appeal? What did the court do here? Did they allow the entire property to be sold? No. Okay. Well, not exactly, Kendra. What did the Court of Appeal say on above? What actually was the bottom line of this case? Anyone? What actually happened? Anne?
It was reversed and
Good.
remanded to basically saying she could sell part of it,
Okay.
or if they, to provide for her reason.
Right. So the court didn't actually order anything here. A little bit dodgy, right? They said, "We'll send this back down to the lower court," and she can then say, "I need to sell this much of the land to provide for my needs," right? But the court stressed that sale, right, is very dangerous. Why? It cuts off the future interest. It cuts off the grandkids. And the court says we don't favor the future sale. So they're more or less letting the lower court do the dirty work. This is a very common technique of state Supreme Courts. Let the lower courts do the dirty work, right? But equity here does not warrant the sale of the entire property. So everyone see, generally you can't sell it, but they said maybe in the spirit of equity and fairness you can. Okay. After the remand, went back to the lower court, they sold off all the land except for the 5 acres where Miss Anna lived. Ironically enough, she lived in the house till she was 98 years old, and she survived 2 of the 3 grandchildren. So all those great grandkids waiting for her to die, she beat them, except for one of them. And eventually the 3rd one got it, and I guess they inherited the property. Although if there were great grandkids, they would get the share as well. All right, so questions on the second case? Yes, Lauren.
Well, my question is, in the will where it talks about if she has children, as far as if she did have those children, what if she, like, I guess, like, if he dies and then she has children with someone else?
That's fine. It says issue. It doesn't say who the father is, right? Because once someone's dead, they can't impregnate her anymore, right?
Yeah.
John couldn't have any more kids with her. I guess you have intersperm, whatever. That didn't exist back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once someone's dead, they can't impregnate her. So the thinking here is if she gets remarried, it takes care of her kids from a second marriage.
Okay, because I guess because, like, I guess depending on when he wrote the will, it could have been, early on in their marriage if he would have wrote it then, and maybe he meant.
Well, that's possible. It's possible that maybe he thought he might have some kids with her also. But the way it's read is not kids from me, it's issue period.
Okay.
Celeste?
If you took off, if she has any, could you interpret it her children as heirs? Or it has to be specifically heirs?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I don't think you can do that. I think heirs is specific. Children is issue. It's people from your blood. Now, again, if you love someone, you don't give them a life estate. I think that's Valentine's Day was a week ago. If you love someone, don't give them a life estate. What he could have done was made a trust for her benefit, right? You basically create a trust for the benefit of Miss Anna Whedon. I'm sorry?
I was thinking that kind of answered what I was thinking.
Go ahead.
I guess it might have been his intention to let her have access to all the money and all the property and sell whatever she wanted, but just, no, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it was, but like, he
He might have understood.
understood, or like maybe if
I
there
don't
was
think so.
Well,
If he thought his wife was going to sell it, then what would the grandkids get?
well, no, but I mean, I'm thinking if I was in a
One at a time.
situation
One at a time. Let her speak.
where I was gonna die and my spouse might have the money, but then I had these other kids, maybe I would want whatever was left over. Would there be a way to write it though, where that person would have control over selling and doing whatever?
Once you give control to the property, that's it. Your grandkids have nothing. If you give the same person the future and the present interest, grandkids are out of the picture.
Okay, even if, like, I could let, so you're saying I can't even let them.
Once you give fee simple to the wife, she can even sell it the next day and the grandkids get 0.
Okay,
That's why he did this.
yeah, because he wanted to keep the grandkids in it, so keeping the grandkids in it meant that she just could not do
Exactly.
any of it.
Andrew.
To kind of rephrase our question, could we not make this the trust a bank account and anything left in that bank account?
Okay,
she's
so
dead
the
is-
trust, right? I haven't mentioned this, but the idea of a trust is this: you say, "I will deposit the ownership of Blackacre in a trust and appoint Joe Smith to manage it, and he's to manage it in the best interest of my wife." The wife couldn't sell it, but if Joe Smith decides that she's short on money, he could sell it and give her the proceeds. The point is, he didn't trust his wife, right? He thought his wife was going to sell this property, he didn't trust her. That's, I think, why. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But you can get around that. So a trust would be a smarter way of doing that. The trust avoids a life estate, which effectively changed her to this land. Her only asset of value was this land, which she couldn't even sell. All she could do and live on it and she couldn't farm when she was old, broke her hip, so she's basically living on disability at that point. The land was worthless until she died, and then it was eventually sold. Yes, Brittany.
If natural life wasn't there, and he said that I give it to, so Weedon to Anna and her heirs, can you say unless she doesn't have issue and then add?
You're asking about where it gets much worse. You can put conditions on life estates. You can do that.
But you can't put it on the fee simple.
Oh boy. So you can do what's called a fee simple conditional. That's next week.
Okay. Don't worry about it. I'll wait.
What you're asking, and let me rephrase Brittany's question, could he have said, I will give you a fee simple so long as you have kids?
Right.
Right? That is what's called dun, da, da, a fee simple determinable. You're welcome. Nope. But you can modify a fee simple with various conditions. You can do that. Next week. Guys, no, we're not done yet. Any questions? Okay, now we're done. All right, thank you very much.